Meet site. Beautiful. Okay. Here is the link. And I'm going to try an experiment here. What happens when I do that? It's on such a delay. I have to wait. Ah, perfect. Okay, that did work. Good. Okay, so when we are going through the showcase, we'll go through the slides, divvy it out. And then when it comes to each individual speaker, their time to perform their persuasive speech, I will just click the spotlight button, which will make their screen the only one that YouTube picks up.
Perfect. Perfect. I was just thinking about that, how that works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the spotlight should work just fine for that. Makes it nice and easy. So the link is now in the chat for all of the students to send out. So I don't know if you guys are there since I don't see you, but any of my students or Boca students, the link for the live stream is currently live. So you can go ahead and copy and paste that, send that out to your parents and anybody else you want to watch. I'm also going to put mine into the Google Classroom.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And I'll send it out to Brian as well. All right, then we have about 5 minutes before we're going to get this underway. So if you need any water or need to run to the bathroom, now's the time to do it.
Focus students, I shared it in a Google Classroom just in case. The YouTube link.
We're doing another experiment. I'm going to share my screen. I do this. Can I control it? I can. Good. Okay. All right, we're going to start in 1 minute. So, can I get all of the campers in the room to turn your cameras on so that I know that you guys are all present? Perfect.
Hey, Kiara, here with us. She had some technical issues before we joined. Hopefully, not now. Yeah.
There we
Yeah,
are.
perfect.
Okay. Spectacular. All right, let's go ahead and get this showcase underway. So, thank you to all those who are watching live. We welcome you to our showcase for session 2 of our 2026 virtual public speaking and debate camp at Capital Debate. We thank you for all of your time, attention, and efforts that have gone into allowing your students to thrive and excel in our camp this past 2 weeks. Today, we're going to go over the awards ceremony where we're going to present our students with the virtual certificates for completing the camp, followed by a showcase where our students are going to give you an example of some of the persuasive speech skills that we have been working on for these past 2 weeks as they deliver their persuasive speeches. Following that, the camp will be done for this session. So we really appreciate your time and effort that has gone into all of this. Let me jump into sharing a slideshow that will go through all of the showcase details, including the certificates that we are presenting to our students today. All right, making sure that that's going to pop up. Perfect. Okay. So first, what have we been working on for these past 2 weeks? Well, specifically, we have been challenging communication skills both in and out of the classroom. We've developed leadership and character through our activities, our lessons, our interactions, and expectations, especially in taking and applying feedback, which, as you all probably know, is one of the most difficult skills to learn and one of the most important for success. We combined an element of individual persuasive speaking and also competition in debate formats to motivate students to meet goals and to challenge them to think on their feet. We have developed into communities and made strong friendships within our groups. And overall, our goal is that your child has a great experience in camp, yes, but also that they're going to be able to take the skills that they learn in these really quick 2 weeks to apply them to change their lives back at home in the classroom, in their future professions, in their schools, their communities, and all over the world. And I think that our campers have successfully developed those skills. So now we're going to go over the different camps. I am Abby Speed, so my students are going to be up first. And then after that, we have the second virtual teacher, Boca, who is going to go over the awards for her students. So let's quick start with my class here. Unfortunately, a couple of my students are unable to attend the showcase, but I'm going to go over their awards as well, because we have all made great strides. So we're going to start with Tiksha. So congratulations to Tiksha. She was an excellent emoter. Her vocal delivery and her gestures and overall passion for her speech is really evident in all of her debates and public speaking skills. So congratulations to Tiksha. Next, Spencer. Spencer is a really reliable rhetorician. She does a great job of balancing logos, ethos, pathos to create a very compelling argument and to articulate her points very clearly. So, congratulations to Spencer. Next, we have Annika. Annika was a very prepared persuader, excuse me. She is excellent at organizing her structure, coming up with ideas very quickly, and supporting them very well. She was always prepared and was seldom taken off balance in the debate sections. So, congratulations to Annika. Next, we have Michael. Michael is one of the most stellar structural speakers I have ever seen. His organization skills, his ability to signpost and use clear thesis structures throughout all of his speeches and debates was spectacular. So, congratulations to Michael. Next, we have Carlos. Carlos is an amazing speaker, and his strength really lies in his ability to come up with creative counter arguments. He was really compelling in cross examination and refutation phases in the debate, and his persuasive speech skills, he's always mindful of the counter argument and how he can counteract that preemptively in his persuasive speeches. So, congratulations to Carlos. Next, we have Beckett. Beckett is spectacular with coming up with really strong, compelling hooks and really good stories and hypothetical scenarios to really engage the emotions of his audience. He was a really fun speaker to watch, and I'm sure that you will also enjoy his speech when we get to his showcase. So, congratulations to Beckett. Now I'm going to pass the torch over to Boca for her to go over her students and give them their certificates.
Thank you very much, Abby. It was a great pleasure seeing all your students improving so much. So let me start with Boca's class that I like to refer as Crossfire Squad, because I believe that that is the competence that they all have improved so much that it became actually their strength. And before we start with giving certificates to each one of them, I would just like to remind them all that there is one thing they have to remember and take away from this camp, and it is that the public speaking is not only about being fully prepared or not at all about being perfect, but being courageous enough to stand in front of others, to share their ideas, and to continue when it's hard. It was hard, and I must say that all of my students were courageous enough to continue even when they would stumble upon maybe not that developed ideas or some points that did not seem to be logical at first point. So I would like to celebrate the point where they're now, and I would like to invite them to continue challenging themselves through public speaking and debate clubs. Thank you so much for giving me this experience and teaching me about resilience. So let's start with the first one. Congratulations, Sanaya. Sanaya was our rebuttal queen because she was excellent at using crossfire and refutation to turn all arguments around. Congratulations, Sanaya. Chiara was the impact queen because she would always connect her arguments to meaningful impacts, and she was the master of weighing them pretty well. Congratulations, Chiara. Vidushi was our crossfire detective. She was excellent at identifying weak points and asking clarifying questions throughout crossfire, and it was an amazing experience. Congratulations, Vidushi. We're not having Ian with us today, but Ian is our Captain Confidence because that is the skill he developed the most throughout the camp. So congratulations, Ian. And finally, Krish. Krish is our Captain Refutation because that is where he became the most confident. Of course, refuting opponents' arguments and checking their claims in crossfire. That's why we have a crossfire squad. Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations. You did a wonderful job.
Thanks, Boca. So that concludes our awards ceremony for delivering certificates to our students and for going over some of their strengths and what they have improved and really excelled at in the camp these past 2 weeks. So what happens next? Well, I would love to tell you about some opportunities that we have to continue, if you would like, for your students to pursue public speech and debate with our company Capital Debate. So today only, if you would like to secure a spot for next year's camps, then we can give you a $300 off coupon using the coupon code 2027 virtual. That is our alumni savings code for when you would like to apply for making sure that your camper has a spot next year. After today, it will you will still be able to use this code, but it will only give you $100 off. So if you still need a little while to think about it, that's all right. The coupon code will still be there for you. Additionally, we encourage you to try our in person camps. If you would like to redo the virtual camps next year, that's great, but it will be much the same format as we've done this year. So, if you want your student to branch out, to interact more with different students, to have a bit of a larger community, and to start practicing some of the skills that they will cultivate for in person speech and debate, which is quite a bit different from speaking to a camera, we really encourage you to look into our in person camps that are all over the United States, and we'll give them the opportunity to interact with students from all over the world. Additionally, we would love to interest you in our Club Debate League. So, once again, I just want to congratulate our campers on completing this virtual camp, and I really want to emphasize how much they have grown. As a way to continue this momentum of growth, you can always look into our virtual club debate league. This is going to offer the same virtual learning environment and coaching structure as what we have experienced in this rapid fire 2 week camp. However, it is a long term structure that will build and improve upon skills more steadily. There will be weekly online team meetings that will be about an hour each week, either Tuesday or Wednesday, your choice. It is available at 7 p.m. or 8:10 p.m. Eastern Time. These camps will allow your students to practice speaking, debate, research, and teamwork. There are 4 quarters offered throughout the year, which offers you flexible opportunities to join if you have a very busy quarter that doesn't allow you to participate, then you can always choose the following quarter. So we're trying to make it as flexible and easy as possible for our students. There will be new topics each quarter to keep things interesting, new, and to really encourage some of those debating skills. Additionally, there will be 2 virtual tournaments per quarter, which gives the students a chance to compete in a supportive setting and to put camp skills into action and keep improving. There will also be specialized weekend workshops that are offered on Sundays from 1 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, where they will focus on deeper skill building, preparation, and confidence. Overall, the Club Debate League offers opportunities to advance, where students can progress into the accelerated group as their skills develop. And the top students may even advance to our national all team. The National All team competes in a prestigious national level virtual tournament throughout the school year. And actually, we just won our 6th national title this past year, and we would love to welcome the next generation of champions. And I suspect that a lot of the campers here today would be excellent material for that league. So, in conclusion, the Virtual Club Debate League is a great next step for campers who want to keep learning, competing, and having a great time doing it. I really encourage you to look into this and to see if your students are willing to join the upcoming quarter. Once again, thank you for an awesome 2 weeks, and congratulations to all of our students here. Well done, everyone. Now is the portion of the camp showcase, where we are going to hear from our students as they present their persuasive speeches they have been working on for these past 2 weeks. They are stellar, they are compelling, they are very persuasive, and I'm very proud to show all of the progress that they have made through this showcase. We'll start with my class, followed by Boca's class. So first, we're going to hear from Tiksha, then Michael, Carlos, and Beckett will finish out my class. So I'm going to spotlight Tiksha, and she'll give her persuasive speech. Can you hear me? Okay. If
a book is named after a character, does that automatically make them the hero? The Greek classic Antigone by Sophocles can be interpreted in many ways, but one question divides readers. Who is the real main character? You'd assume it's Antigone, right? Wrong. The true main character of Antigone is actually King Creon, who fits the definition of true tragic hero and protagonist because his actions drive the plot forward, and he's a much more dynamic character than Antigone. For a quick plot summary, after a war for the throne of Thebes, a man named Creon emerges victorious and becomes king. Creon then issues a decree that nobody can bury Polynices, the previous royal princess Antigone's brother. Antigone goes against his wishes to appease the gods of death. Creon then jails Antigone, despite multiple warnings not to. This eventually leads to his downfall. In this story, Creon is the obvious protagonist. My first point to prove this is that Creon's edict drives the plot forward. Second, he's a much more dynamic character than Antigone. Third, and most importantly, he fits the definition of tragic hero through his hubris and his repentance. Due to the fact that Antigone's actions are a result of Creon's decisions, King Creon fits the definition of protagonist, which is the character whose actions are key to the plot of the play. Creon states, Polynices, I say, is to have no burial. No traitor is going to be honored with the loyal man. Creon doesn't want to honor the guy who nearly burnt down the entire city of Thebes just so he could become king. This edict is what pushes the plot forward. Now, had Creon never issued this edict, Antigone would have nothing to do with the continuing plot of the play. Thus, the events of the play would have never even taken place. Also, Creon's downfall from king of Thebes to a man whose entire family died because of his actions is very extreme, even more extreme than Antigone's exile. By the end of the book, his family, along with Antigone, all ended up committing suicide. This tragedy occurred because of Creon's own actions. Creon's decision to value civil law over divine law caused the gods to be angry at him and caused this fate. By the end of the book, Creon realizes, had he just agreed to bury Polynices or not punish Antigone for doing such, his family still would have been here. Even though Creon severely regretted his actions, it's clear to see that these flawed actions started the plot of the play. Secondly, King Creon fits the definition of a dynamic protagonist due to his change of heart in the last scenes of the play. The Greek chorus chants, there is no happiness where there is no wisdom in but submission to the gods. Proud men in old age learn to be wise. Creon begins the book as a stubborn king who even threatened his own subjects when they merely brought the idea of burying Polynices. As the chorus explains, Creon realizes the cruelty in his actions when the play is almost over. Creon's eventual realization and redemption are what make him such a dynamic character, unlike Antigone, whose own agenda became twisted over time. You see, in the beginning, all she wanted to do was bury her dead brother, but by the end, it's her own stubbornness that leads to her downfall. Her hubris affects her at the very end, while Creon's has been on full display since the beginning of the book. In addition, both Antigone and Creon believe what they're doing is right. They're extremely stubborn in their actions. However, unlike Antigone, Creon learns to come and understand Antigone's point of view. His apology in the last lines of the book prove this, when he not only apologizes for causing her demise, but for not understanding her side of the story sooner. When comparing the two characters of Antigone and Creon, it is clear to see Creon's character development far exceeds Antigone's. To conclude, a vast majority of evidence points towards King Creon being the protagonist and tragic hero in the play Antigone. First, his edict drives the plot forward. Second, he experiences a downfall due to his tragic flaw. Third, and most importantly, he learns the lesson and repents for his actions. Creon's repentance ties in with the definitions of true tragic hero and protagonist. Therefore, despite the play being named Antigone, Creon is the true tragic hero and protagonist of the play.
Thank you, Tiksha. That was perfect. Well done. Next, we have Michael. So, Michael, go ahead and get set, and we'll hear your persuasive speech.
"6 years in a maximum security prison. That was the fate of a man named Eric Loomis. He wasn't just sentenced by a judge. He was sentenced by a proprietary algorithm, one whose reasoning was hidden from his attorney, the jury, and even the judge himself. This is the new normal across America, where justice is being decided by computer programs. Programs whose biased logic is shadowed from the public eye. The United States criminal justice system should not use predictive AI algorithms in criminal sentencing because of bias and violations of due process through mysterious paths of reasoning. Firstly, predictive algorithms do not eliminate bias. Instead, they exacerbate the issue by implementing historical prejudices within the mathematical programs, turning injustice into truth. According to Fan et al., predictive algorithms are equally vulnerable to perpetuating historical prejudices inherent in the dataset, as they lack the ability to contextualize the information that they process. This means that the algorithm is blind to human nuance. All it can see is the past record, meaning that it cannot see background context, nor can it see human capacity to change. In addition, researcher Venkat reports that under the NYPD's pattern recognition AI, stop and frisk increased by over 50%, with nearly 9 out of every 10 people being stopped Black or Latino. Most significantly, this AI labels historically over-policed communities as high risk, generating more biased data that further entrenches automated racial suspicion, guaranteeing systematically unfair decisions that endanger the rights of these vulnerable groups. Furthermore, predictive algorithms violate constitutional due process by replacing transparent legal reasoning with hidden computations. Taylor 26, writing for Stanford, details, the Complos system is not transparent, nor is it easily explicable to a judge or defendant, let alone a large public. This creates a mysterious reasoning because no one is able to see how data points are weighed or why a system has flagged an individual to be high risk. Therefore, this violates a defendant's fundamental right to a due process. You cannot defend yourself if the justification for your sentence is locked away entirely. It turns the courtroom into the equivalent of a blindfolded boxing match. As detailed in a Harvard Law analysis of the State versus Loomis case, the Wisconsin Supreme Court upheld a 6-year prison sentence based off a Complos risk assessment, whose methodology was locked away as a trade secret. This means that the court legally sanctioned a trial in which a human being's liberty was decided by invisible code, forcing the defendant to blindly accept the generated verdict. Consequently, this strips away your right to fight for your own freedom and also damages and destroys judicial impartiality. In the end, we cannot allow human freedom to be in the hands of AI. The United States criminal justice system should not use predictive AI algorithms in criminal sentencing because of systematic biases and violations of due process. If a system is unable to explain its own reasoning and is incapable of understanding humanity, then it has no place in the court of law. We must demand a justice system that remains transparent, fair, and most importantly, human.
Thank you, Michael. That was perfect. Well done. Now we're going to hear from Carlos.
Studying ethics school teach students how to solve equations, analyze literature, and conduct scientific experiments. Shouldn't they also teach students how to think through difficult decisions? Studying ethics may seem redundant. After all, don't we all have a moral compass that has guided us throughout our lives? So why should schools focus on teaching a skill we already have? The answer is that having a moral compass is not the same as knowing how to read or use it. Like any other skill, ethical reasoning can and should be taught because it helps students make better decisions, prepares them for future professional responsibilities, and teaches them to think about the broader consequences of unethical decisions. So let's begin with decision making. Life is full of situations where the right course of action isn't immediately obvious. For example, let's say you find that your best friend's girlfriend, who's also a good friend of yours, is cheating. What do? Do you tell your friend the truth but risk losing your friendship with his girlfriend, or keep quiet? From an outside perspective, the answer may seem obvious, but in the moment, I'm willing to bet it won't. Ethical reasoning is the process of weighing competing responsibilities, considering possible outcomes, and examining the reasons behind different choices. It doesn't necessarily provide the perfect answer, but it gives us a framework for evaluating and justifying our decisions. So rather than acting on instinct, we learn to think critically about why we believe a certain action is best. Moreover, an ethics education can prepare students for future careers. Think about it. If you needed a doctor or a lawyer, would you choose someone who only does the bare minimum required by the law, or someone who genuinely thinks about the consequences of his actions. That's why professional ethics codes exist, because many recognize that the law only requires a minimum of morality, not the ideal. Ethical reasoning helps people make decisions when rules alone fail to provide a clear answer. Finally, an ethics education can help students understand the broader consequences of unethical behavior. Take the financial crisis of 2008, the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, costing the United States alone to lose over 20 trillion US dollars. Why did the crisis happen? It happened because people were rewarded for making unethical decisions. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, bankers were rewarded whenever they gave out loans. So they just gave out loans to whoever. It didn't matter whether they could pay them back or not. And when those loans failed, people lost their homes, their jobs, and their savings. It's important to understand that these bankers were highly educated. However, what they had in their education, many lacked in ethical reasoning, especially a willingness to consider the broader consequences of their actions. The crisis demonstrates how poor ethical reasoning can have consequences far beyond the individual. Some people argue that families, rather than schools, should teach ethics. I don't disagree. Families do and should play a very important role in shaping values, beliefs, etc. But ethics courses wouldn't tell students what to believe. Rather, it would teach them how to analyze arguments, identify biases, evaluate consequences, and reason through difficult decisions. Everyone has a moral compass, but that doesn't mean it always points in the right direction. Ethics courses help students learn how to use their compass more effectively. By strengthening decision-making skills, preparing students for professional responsibilities, and helping them understand the consequences of their actions, ethics courses would provide students with a valuable skill they could use for the rest of their lives. And so I urge you to encourage schools to offer ethics courses to give these students those valuable opportunities.
Thank you, Carlos. That was wonderful. And we'll hear from Beckett now. Beckett, go ahead and get set.
Think of your 5 closest friends. The chances are that one of you has a learning disorder. This is because the chances that any American has a learning disorder are 1 in 5, per the Learning Disabilities Association of America. However, having a learning disorder should not impair your right to a good education or to a good life. And this is why the Department of Education should mandate that all students receive testing for a learning disorder. This would help all those with undiagnosed learning disorders and would help us to uphold our values. First, on the undiagnosed learning disorders. Again, per the Learning Disabilities Association of America, only 8.25% of students receive accommodations in school for learning disorder. However, that 1 in 5 earlier is 20%. So what about that other 11.75%? That other, actually, about 6.65 million students. They are the 6.65 million students waiting for us to give them a chance to show that they're brilliant too. Also, from the Learning Disabilities Association of America, students with learning disorders drop out of high school at a rate that is 3 times that of all students. And how many of those other students are part of the over 6.5 million who haven't yet been diagnosed? And remember that kids before they're diagnosed are often thought of as lazy and misbehaving. That's so much needless punishment given to a child for what they can't control. 6.5 million times they heard, try harder, be better. 6.5 million times they believed it when someone said, why aren't you good enough? And on to my second point, does all are created equal sound familiar? In America, we value equality, and we must embrace those values here today. And to claim that the budget is the reason we cannot act on our values would neglect the finds by Kirabo Jackson at the Northwestern Institute for Policy Research. For every additional dollar invested, there is a return on investment of $2. This is because students are able to go farther with better education. They get that much of a better job and repay the society for what they received twice over. Additionally, per the Stanford Institute for Economic Research, for every Edison cultivated by determined parents, there are countless other children trapped by circumstance. And we cannot allow circumstance to stop someone from being the best they can be and reaching their goals. And this is why the Department of Education must mandate that all students are able to receive testing for a learning disorder. This would help all those with undiagnosed learning disorders. It would strengthen our values. Remember, and all those who are thought of as lazy with behaving, this would help to improve their lives from being stressed to supported, from being punished to praised, from cruel to kind. This is the 6.5 million kids we can enable to become those next innovators, to become those next leaders, to become those next champions. Send letters to Congress, write letters to the president. We must make sure that all get the equal playing field that they deserve.
Excellent job, Beckett. And that wraps up my class. So thank you to my class. You all did a fantastic job. I'm going to turn the time over to Boca.
Thank you. So I would like to invite Sanaya to take the floor. Sanaya will be the first one to present, and then we're moving to Chiara, Vidushi, and we will finalize our showcase with Krish. So Sanaya, the floor is yours.
Glass walls surround me. I see distorted faces through the murky water of my tank. No, of my prison. For millions of marine animals, this is not a nightmare. This is their everyday life. We should stop keeping marine life in captivity because, first of all, it causes many psychological diseases, and second, it tends to destroy the natural instincts of these animals. To explain, there are two psychological diseases that affect marine life. They are called stereotypies and zoochosis. Stereotypies is a type of mental behavior that shows that marine life is anything but okay. Julie Capellia from the World Animal Protection stated that in captivity, marine mammals circle tanks the size of bathtubs, float listlessly at the surface of the water, and exhibit behaviors such as repetitive swimming patterns, jaw clicking, and self-harm. Next, zoochosis is another mental disease that affects marine life. It also means hyperaggression. It starts when there's not enough space inside an animal's tank, so it resorts to exhibiting behaviors. Three of those main behaviors are rubbing against the concrete, causing cuts and scrapes all over its body, gnawing their teeth together until it makes a pulp, and crashing into the glass walls surrounding them. This has to stop because we're torturing them just for our entertainment. Another downfall besides the psychological suffering has to do with the animal's natural instincts. To explain, because the animals are being kept in captivity, their natural instincts are being suppressed. Two of the main natural instincts that are being suppressed are their hunting instincts and social instincts. To explain, because the animals are being hand-fed, they do not learn how to hunt for their own food. That means that if those animals are ever released back into the wild, they have an extremely high chance of dying. The only way to ensure safety of those animals is by putting them through a rigorous training course, which very few marine animal facilities have. Science Daily did a study and they found out that 70% of marine mammals die every year just because they do not know how to hunt for their own food. Only 30% of those animals make it. Next, their social instincts are also being destroyed. To explain, because of the limited space in one tank, mothers and babies are being separated. On the mother side of things, she has her natural child protection instincts are being shattered. That also causes, because her natural child protection instincts are a major part of her social instincts, that causes her social instincts to be destroyed too. On the baby side of things, it learns hunting instincts and many social instincts from its mother. Those instincts can only be taught when the baby is young. So when those two animals are separated, the baby can never learn how to hunt and use its social instincts, and the mother is destroyed by her grief. Those two things destroy those two animals' hopes for ever being released back into the wild. When we consider the psychological suffering and the loss of natural instincts, it is clear that we should stop keeping marine life in small enclosed tanks filled with murky water. The next time you're even tempted to go in an aquarium, remember those glass walls surrounding those poor innocent animals, and ask yourself, is their suffering really worth my entertainment?
Thank you very much, Sanaya. Excellent job. So I'm inviting Kiara now to take the floor.
Raise your hand if you've ever had Skittles, Doritos, or Pepsi. Now raise your hand if you know the hard truth behind the bright lie. Red 40 is a synthetic chemical dye used solely for the appearance of food. Red 40 has been found to be linked to gut inflammation, allergic reactions such as hives and asthma, and even potential DNA damage. Red 40 needs to be banned for its clear connection to illnesses, the availability of safer alternatives, and the need to protect public health. Firstly, why we must ban Red 40? Due to its clear connection to illnesses. Red 40 has been linked to several health concerns throughout the years. Carcinogen is a cancer-causing substance in living tissue. Julia Zupano, Cleveland Clinic's dietitian, explains that P-creatinine, a carcinogenic substance, is found in none other than Red 40. Red 40 causes cancer risks stemming from dangers in foods. Some may argue that removing Red 40 removes the appeal for food, but in reality, there are safer, healthier, better alternatives to choose from. Moving into my second point, alternatives exist. Red 40 is a synthetic chemical dye used purely for the appearance of food. It does not improve nutrition, nor health, nor taste. The University Hospital's article states that there are varieties of alternatives with varieties of colors. Red 40 has nasty side effects, while natural dyes are healthier and create a safer alternative. Snacks do not need unsafe chemicals in them to taste great. Safer food features include food being appealing and safe while tasting amazing. Instead of using toxic chemicals like Red 40 that is fed to children as young as 5 years old. Now moving into the real reason Red 40 is so widely used. Low cost. Making mass-producing cheap products faster and more efficiently to consume. Red 40 is used for cost, ignoring multiple health risks. Despite growing concern, Red 40 remains legal in the United States. Soham Shah, public health expert, states that low-income families are prone to ultra-processed foods such as Red 40. Healthier alternatives are often more expensive and less accessible to low-income families. Companies like Doritos take advantage of the gap, prioritizing low cost over consumer health. Red 40 has been linked to gut inflammation, allergic reactions such as hives and asthma, and even potential DNA damage. Red 40 needs to be banned for its clear connection to illnesses, the availability of safer alternatives, and the need to protect our consumers' health. We should stabilize Red 40 to protect consumer health in the United States. Next time you go walk into a grocery store or pick up a bag of brightly colored chips, remember that every delay in banning Red 40 equals to more children's health at risk every day.
Thank you very much, Kiara. Excellent job. So let us now make the floor for Vidushi. Vidushi, the floor is yours. Vidushi, can we just check mic settings? Yeah, because we cannot hear you, so could you do the change for mic settings as usual? I cannot hear you still. Abby, can you hear? No? Vidushi? Yeah, I cannot hear you. Do you know the settings, like mic settings that you would usually switch so we can hear you?
Mommy, does it work now?
Perfect. Let's do it.
If only 1 in 5 students find homework meaningful, why are we sacrificing their mental health for the other 80%? School should not have homework because it takes away time from extracurricular activities, causes stress, and limits adolescent sleep. Extracurricular activities are important because learning new skills are always beneficial, and those skills may help you later on in life. Instead of doing homework, those hours could be spent on doing sports, family activities, part-time jobs, and community involvement instead of reviewing what you've already learned in school. According to Stanford, heavy after-school workloads crowd out time for play, hobbies, and socialization. While some educators say that homework reinforces learning, research suggests that excessive amounts can harm students' well-being. Stress is like a heavy backpack you have to carry. If you have to wear it for too long without a break or carry it when it's full, you get tired, and that burnout is known as depression. According to Stanford, 56% of students are stressed by homework. Excessive homework may create more stress than educational benefit. The effects of homework-related stress do not end when students leave their desk. It follows through them and interferes with their sleep. According to Sleep Foundation, sleep is a biological necessity that fuels profound mental, emotional, and physical development. Stanford studies find that over 55% of students are stressed by homework. According to the Douglas Research Center, solving complex math problems or reading right before bed keeps the brain actively awake, raising heart rate and cortisol levels, making it difficult for the mind to power down. According to GW Cancer, sleep is not just downtime. It's an active, essential biological process. It is vital for your physical and mental health, allowing your brain to process memories, regulate your emotions, and clear toxins. It also repairs cells, balances hormones, and strengthens your immune defense. When homework reduces opportunities, causes stress, and limits sleep, it becomes difficult to argue that large amounts are helping students succeed. Adults get to leave their jobs in the office. It's time to let students leave their jobs in the classroom.
Thank you, Vidushi. Excellent job. And let's invite Krish. Krish, the floor is yours.
Imagine sprinting as fast as you can to smash a neon ball with all your strength. While many kids spend all day staring at screens, tennis allows you to get outside, have fun, win trophies, and have a total rush. Tennis is the perfect sport because it sharpens your mind, strengthens your physical health, and builds your social well-being. My first reason why tennis is better than video games is because it helps your brain. When the ball is flying at you, you will listen 1 second to figure out the speed, the spin, where it's going to land, and where to move to be able to hit the ball. The University of Illinois did a study and found out that making these split-second choices allows your brain to have new brain connections. In video games, you're just mashing buttons and not learning anything new. On the other hand, tennis allows you to build real reflexes so that you don't fall. My second reason why tennis is better than video games is because it helps your body. In tennis, you're not doing boring laps like in track and field. Rather, you're focused on winning points while still burning calories. In video games, you're just sitting down feeling sluggish and tired. Harvard did a study and found out that playing only 1 hour of singles tennis can burn up to 400 to 600 calories. It's because you're constantly sprinting and then taking quick breaks, which is perfect for your heart. My third and final reason why tennis is better than video games is because it helps your social well-being. Kids who play video games on online multiplayer often experience people that are toxic. Being toxic means people that yell, get mad at you, and ruin the whole fun of the game. While in tennis, you get to have real face-to-face interactions with each other, high-five each other, and share laughs. According to the University of Copenhagen, tennis players live 10 years longer than the average human. Plus, real interactions release brain chemicals that lower your stress and make you happier. In conclusion, tennis sharpens your mind, burns tons of calories, and lets you laugh with your friends in person. While video games leave you feeling sluggish, tired, isolate you in front of a screen, and can often get toxic over the headset. So turn off the console, grab a friend, get outside, and smash that neon ball with all your strength.
Thank you, Krish. Great job. And everyone's so proud of you.
All right. And that wraps up this year's showcase for session 2. Thank you again to all of the participants. Thank you to all of the parents who supported all of our students. And thank you to anybody watching. I'm going to end the live stream, and I hope that you consider future opportunities with Capital Debate, such as the Virtual Club Debate League or some of our in-person camps next summer. Have a great rest of your day.